Welcome to Elect Connect, a candidate forum brought to you by the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce. I'm Mary Morgan, the Chamber's Director of Advocacy and Public Policy, and we're joined today with Shelli Yoder, a Democrat who's running for Indiana State Senate District 40. First, however, I would like to thank our sponsors of Elect Connect. Without them, this would not be possible. Our sponsors for Elect Connect are German American Bank, the City of Bloomington, Bunger and Robertson, Hoosier Energy, Indiana University, and Smithville. And once again, we're here with Shelli Yoder. She's running in the Democratic Party primary as a candidate in the Indiana State Senate race for District 40. Welcome, Shelli. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you to the Chamber and to our sponsors for putting on this sort of state-of-the-art candidates forum.
Great. Well, I'd like to ask you to begin just by telling us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in running for this office.
Well, I'm Shelli Yoder, and I'm running for State Senate to represent District 40, which is all of Monroe County, but not all of Monroe County. It is a beautiful district that I have been serving for the better part of my lifetime. And during these unprecedented and uncertain times, when we see this global pandemic really highlighting and exposing some severe disparities in our healthcare system and in our economy, we need bold leadership we can trust. Leaders who put people above politics, who make decisive action and take decisive action based in science, and shine bright in our darkest days. And that's why I'm running, is to serve the people of Monroe County and to fight for them. And as your state senator, I will never stop fighting for you.
Well, related to the COVID-19 situation, in your opinion, what other assistance should the state be providing, particularly for local businesses during this time?
Well, having served on the county council for the better part of the last decade and being on faculty at the Kelley School of Business, we certainly have been asking these questions, and I've been listening and following our current local leaders and how they've been responding. From the state level, we can be very clear and very concise in how we address this issue with our small businesses. What I want to focus on is making sure that the way we recover this economy is inclusively, because what we're seeing from the CARES Act from the federal government and what the state of Indiana can tap into in some respects is those who have the access, but those who don't have access to paid accountants or a strong relationship with a banker or an attorney are left behind. And so again, we see those disparities in our economy. So what the state can do, we can do things like work share programs. We can make sure that we are getting people the information that they need to apply for unemployment, but we need to engage in in our workforce re-education and make sure that those who are finding themselves unemployed are getting the training that they need to get right back into that economy. Because we will be seeing in the next few years the ramifications of what we are experiencing today.
Well, speaking of ramifications, as you know, the state legislature is moving into a budget year, and it's expected that revenues will be decreased. As you consider some of these budget decisions, what areas would you prioritize for cuts? And then are there parts of the budget that you actually think need more support, not less?
Well, I will approach the budget just like I did every year serving on the county council as the fiscal managers of Monroe County. And while I served on the Monroe County Council, we ended having a very strong rainy day fund. And the state of Indiana has a strong rainy day fund as well, and we can look to those because of that good stewardship, being able to do some things in order to respond to this economic crisis that we find ourselves in. But I will be prioritizing making people whole. My leadership is both empathic and rooted in science, but we need to be looking for ways and supporting ways that make people whole again, whether that is access to more testing, making sure that we are engaging our economy and making sure that people have access once again to whether retraining, to engage the workforce, to keep our small businesses open, and those that find themselves with no other choice but to close their doors, getting them back engaged in the economy as best we can. We are looking at greater issues of housing. Our community already is faced with some serious shortages when it comes to housing, affordable housing, and now we're probably going to be looking at higher numbers of homelessness for our families, and we need to be doing rapid rehousing and being very creative on the state, how we can support local governments in being able to make our people whole again.
This question comes from one of our members and is also related to the budget. As the state faces decreased tax revenues due to COVID-19, would you consider legalizing marijuana? And why or why not?
Decriminalizing marijuana is one of the issues that I'm running on, and people can find out more at www.shelliyoder.com. Having been a co-founder of the South Central Opioid Summit, we definitely know that many of those who are serving in our criminal justice system have even low-level crimes of marijuana possession, and that's just, it's a waste of money. And if Indiana and Hoosiers know anything, I mean, we know how to save a dollar, and that just is not common sense. We need to be decriminalizing marijuana and making sure that people are getting the treatment that they need and not criminalizing substance use and substance use disorders. So I am for the decriminalization of marijuana, and you can find out more on my website.
Okay. In the past, as you know, we've seen tensions between the state and local municipalities, particularly Bloomington. What's your view of Indiana's Home Rule Act, and how do you determine whether or when the state should step in to take action to limit local government?
I think it's a symbiotic relationship when it comes to our local businesses and our local government. Having served on the county council, I know how important it is to be able to be flexible and nimble to respond to the needs in our community. And so the home rule is incredibly important. And I will be doing what I can to make sure that local governments have what they need to respond to the people in those communities, in our community. What happens when people don't get along? It's sad when people have to step in and begin helping to mitigate that tension. But when people don't feel heard, they need to have opportunities and ways in which that they can be listened to. My hope is that I will always serve as somebody who is approachable, will listen. I want to be transparent and serve the people of our community as a fighter and as a bold, progressive choice. And I will be that kind of a fighter and a representative in the General Assembly. I want to say one other thing. You know, we were talking about where are we going to, make the cuts and where should we make the investments. We made a promise to our public schools and to our school teachers this year, and we have to hold to that promise. We already do not pay them a living wage. And our public school teachers, what I have witnessed, I'm a mom of 3 kids currently in the Monroe County public school system, and the way that they've had to rise to the occasion to respond quickly in really very difficult circumstances considering COVID-19. I know that they're working around the clock. We owed them that this year. We've owed them that for the past several years, and we certainly owe it to them in this coming year. So that's one of the things I will make sure that we invest in. We will invest in our public education and in our teachers.
Okay. You've alluded to this in some of your previous answers, but in many ways, state legislators, especially if you're in the minority party, they have limited influence. So how do you plan to approach your work so that your constituents would have a voice in state government?
My career and my life has been really grounded and informed by being the kind of collaborator and bridge builder with all kinds of people. What we know in good business is strong business when it's a diverse business. And we can do that well when we are willing to be someone who listens to the other side, but also is not afraid to stand up for what is right. And what I want to do and what I want to accomplish in the state legislature as your state senator is make sure that our progressive values and progressive causes, that agenda is definitely heard, and there's a fighter in the state Senate fighting for those causes. I know that it is, there are 50 state senators. Only 10 are Democrats. Only 2 of those are women. We need a diversity of voices. We need representatives that better reflect the makeup of our communities. I think it's important to have a diversity of voices, and I think it's important to hear a diversity of opinions. But I am one who will listen and continue to fight, work together, and make sure that the solutions we come up with are ones that serve the people of Monroe County. I never have backed down from a good fight, but I also know it's important to work together. It is a fine balance, but it's a balance as a mom, as an educator, as a former elected official. I know how to create that balance and work together. And that's the kind of spirit that I will bring with me, and the experience that I will take with me to the state Senate.
Well, that concludes our questions. Are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
I hope that they follow us on Facebook. You can find us at Shelli Yoder for State Senate. You can also find us on Twitter and follow along at Shelli Yoder, or on Instagram. You can also look for more information on our website at shelliyoder.com. I hope people get out and vote. May 4th will be the registration deadline to vote in this primary, to get your absentee ballot, because we want to keep you and your family safe, and we encourage you to vote absentee. You can request that ballot, but I think Monroe County, due to those great rainy day funds, we are sending an absentee ballot to every registered voter. Turn that absentee ballot in, and you will receive a ballot in the mail. Make sure that ballot gets into the mail and into the hands of our election board by June 2nd. Not mailed on June 2nd. It needs to be in the hands of the election board by noon on June 2nd. So those are some pretty important dates. You can find that information on our website, shelliyoder.com. You can also find how to register and how to request an absentee ballot if by chance you don't get yours or need to request another one. Those deadlines are there. My priorities are there. And ways to get involved in the campaign are there. We are finding new ways in this unprecedented time to connect with people, to find out what is at stake in this election. We need more participation in the democratic process, and it begins with each of us. So get involved, shelliyoder.com. I ask for your support, and I ask for your vote on June 2nd. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Shelli. As a reminder, we've been talking with Shelli Yoder. She's a candidate in the Democratic Party primary on June 2nd for State Senate District 40. And one final shout out to our Elect Connect sponsors, German American Bank, Bunger and Robertson, the City of Bloomington, Hoosier Energy, Indiana University, and Smithville. And Shelli, you stole my thunder there. I just wanted to also say, please vote on June 2nd. All voters now for the primary are eligible to vote by mail, and we would encourage you to do so. You can find out more information about how to do that at monroecountyvoters.us. And we'll also have information about the voting process and some information about the candidates in the primary election at the Chamber website, chamberbloomington.org/2020-primary-election. Thanks again for joining us.